I was in 2000, my 5-minute introduction before we get introductions from everybody else. As many as we can today, we'll do some more tomorrow probably. 97 is when I surrendered to ministry. I surrendered in a church called Broadway Baptist Church. I thought it was narrow, but they were called Broadway, right? Springfield, Missouri. Pastor Norman Noble, great man. Served all his life, 30 years in that church. Was a mentor in many ways. Watch night service, 1999. December 31st, 1999. It was called Y2K. You remember? It was like yesterday for me, because we've been in a time warp since then, a little bit. He said, Nathan, why don't you come and preach the watch night service December 31st? I said, well, okay. And I was 22 years old, maybe, 23. As a young pastor, you know what you ask? I was pastoring a little church in Statland, Missouri. You ask, pastor, senior pastor, what would you like me to preach on? And he says, well, end times, of course. You're expecting the lights to go out at midnight, right? You remember that? You remember that? So, okay, and then Matthew 24. Disciples come to Jesus will tell us what's the signs of your coming. How will we know? Wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes, famines, various places. Verse 9 will really mess with you. Eschatology, right? Steve? Then you'll be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. Hated by all nations because of me, and love them most will grow cold. He who stands firm to the end will be saved. And then 14 hits you like a ton of bricks. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world, testament all the nations. And then the end will come. And I don't know how tacky it is, but that was the night I came under conviction of my own preaching. So at 12:05 midnight, January 1st, I was committing to missions. So I went as a single. By the summer, I was with, not on the same team. I think there would have been some kind of spontaneous combustion at that early date with my sinful nature. I wasn't on a team with the Sundells, but we were in Nepal with the Sundells. I was. A year after that, I met Karie, my wife. This is Karie Shank, everyone. She doesn't get to the U.S. very often. I think it's the first time you and Angie have been together in 8 years. But we were cutting our teeth on what's it take to steward the commission. And the truth is, my calendar, my ability, my schedule, my gifting, those were my plan. If you heard this part of the testimony, I'm sorry. But the reality is there was a certain, even idolatry in my heart concerning what I could accomplish, concerning what I could do, what I could bring to the table, how I was to steward even my gift as my calendar as my plan. And the Lord allowed me to hit the wall on some of that. It didn't mean there wasn't fruit. When we looked around, what we saw was addition. Meanwhile, the nation of Nepal was multiplying. North India, just to the south of us, my goodness. Our brother did the math on it the other day. In South Asia, now 17 years on, we're stewarding the first affinity block of people globally that will reach 2 billion. 2035, South Asia, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, these 7 nations. They'll hit 2 billion in about 2035. If I share the gospel every day, faithfully, if I reach the goals I challenge the people I train, share with a family a week, 5 people, 7 people a week, gospel every day, 1 person a day, for 40 years, you know what the total is? 12,000 and change would hear. 40 years of faithfulness, 12,000 would hear. In South Asia, that big red blot up there, we had 100,000 people a day are born. Means my entire faithful career of service would cover the people born between midnight and 2 in a single day. Is that right? It can't depend on us. We've got to think beyond ourselves. Strategy coordinator is a call. It's a request. It's a challenge to think beyond yourself. Start multiplying. Start training. Start releasing. Start envisioning, start providing tools, start engaging targets far beyond yourself. Based on those you could raise up, based on those the laborers the Lord would provide in the harvest. And is that our vision? There's no way this happens without that. Which means, from my perspective, as God has bound himself to his agents, to the priesthood that he's developed, that he's called out from every nation, people, tribe, and language, if it's not possible without multiplication, then I would assume that multiplication is also a promise. I've never tried to say it that way. What do you think? You think she holds? If a vast multitude from every nation, tribe, people, and language is our future, is in fact the eternal state, then there seems to me to be a promised multiplication along the way. God's committed to it. He's going to see it happen. We've got to think beyond ourselves. You with me? I got married in 2001. 2005, we came under Jeff and Angie's supervision. These are my mentors. 2007, 10 years ago, next week, we met Brother Kumar Pillai. Isn't that right? What was the date with you and Tim Smith? Maybe that was it was July, wasn't it? 2007? Happy anniversary, bro. It's called a decade. We have to give him now. That's right, lunch, it's coming. We'll have it. 10 years ago, we met Kumar. We've been challenged, this is also my mentor. We've been challenged by brothers in South India, or excuse me, in South Asia, that have done far more than we could have ever imagined. Nepalis, Assamese, Biharis. That's my introduction, all right? So what we're going to do for the next 20 minutes is take a break.